Ladies and gentlemen, today we embark on a journey to uncover the essence of prayer, not as a mere duty or obligation, but as a lifeline to something infinitely greater. Prayer is not about bending the will of the heavens to our own desires. Rather, it is about aligning our hearts with eternal truths. Let us begin by understanding that prayer is a conversation, not a ritual. It is not about the formality of words or the posture of the body, but the posture of the heart. When you pray, speak as though you are addressing a trusted friend. Honesty and openness matter far more than polished phrases. Prayer, at its core, is a conversation, not a ritual. It is the meeting place of the human soul and the divine, where words and silence are bridges connecting two worlds. This perspective challenges the notion that prayer must be adorned with grandiose language or confined to specific formulas. Instead, it invites us to approach prayer as a deeply personal and intimate act, free from pretense or performance. Imagine speaking to a close friend, someone who knows you fully and loves you unconditionally. In such a conversation, you would not feel the need to filter your thoughts or carefully craft your words. You would speak honestly, sharing your joys, fears, and hopes without fear of judgment. This is the essence of prayer, a genuine, heartfelt dialogue with the one who understands you better than you understand yourself. When prayer becomes a ritual, it risks losing its authenticity. Repeating words out of habit or obligation may fulfill an outward duty, but it leaves the heart untouched. True prayer does not demand elaborate phrases or perfect articulation. Even the simplest cry, uttered from the depths of the soul, carries immeasurable weight. A whispered "help me," a quiet "thank you," or a silent sigh can be as profound as any formal invocation. This does not mean that structure has no place in prayer. Just as a conversation can benefit from focus and intention, so too can prayer. Structured prayer, such as those handed down through tradition, can serve as guiding lights, helping us articulate thoughts we may struggle to express. However, these should never replace the spontaneous outpouring of the heart. Approaching prayer as a conversation also means listening. Often we view prayer as a one-way communication, where we present our requests and move on. But a true conversation involves pauses, moments of stillness where we quiet our minds and listen for the gentle whispers of guidance and reassurance. Prayer, when embraced as a conversation, becomes a lifeline to the sacred. It transforms from a mere act to a living, breathing relationship, dynamic, ever-changing, and deeply enriching. In this space, you are free to be yourself, to speak without fear, and to encounter a love that transcends understanding. Humility is the foundation upon which meaningful prayer is built. It is the recognition of our place in the vastness of creation and an acknowledgement of our dependence on a power far greater than ourselves. To approach prayer with humility is to set aside pride, self-sufficiency, and the illusion of control, allowing us to experience the profound depth of this sacred act. In humility, we admit our limitations. Life often reminds us of how little we truly control, whether through unexpected challenges, unanswered questions, or moments of deep need. Prayer provides the space to confront these realities, not as failures, but as truths. It is a way of saying, I cannot do this alone. I need help, guidance, and strength. This admission does not diminish us. Instead, it frees us from the weight of self-reliance and opens the door to grace. True humility in prayer is not about belittling oneself. It is not an act of self-deprecation, but of honest acknowledgement. We are finite beings with finite understanding, yet we are invited into a relationship with the infinite. This awareness should not lead to despair, but to awe, a sense of wonder that the Creator of all things would listen to the cries of the human heart. It is in this space of reverence that humility takes root. Humility also shapes the posture of our hearts. When we approach prayer with arrogance, as though demanding answers or outcomes, we miss its true purpose. Prayer is not a tool to assert our will, but a means to align with the divine will. It is an act of surrender, a quiet yet profound "Your will be done." This surrender is not passive. It requires courage and trust, knowing that the answers may not always align with our desires, but will ultimately serve our good. Humility fosters gratitude. When we recognize that all we have is a gift, undeserved and unearned, our prayers naturally overflow with thankfulness. This gratitude shifts our focus from what we lack to the abundance we already possess, enriching our prayer life and deepening our sense of connection. Approaching prayer with humility transforms it into a profound act of faith and trust. It reminds us of our smallness in the grand scheme and, paradoxically, of our immense worth to the one who listens. In humility, we find the true heart of prayer, a space where dependence becomes strength and surrender becomes freedom. Prayer requires focus and intention to reach its full depth and meaning. In our fast-paced, distraction-filled lives, it is easy to approach prayer with divided attention, allowing our thoughts to wander or our minds to remain preoccupied with the cares of the day. However, true prayer demands presence, a deliberate effort to quiet the noise within and direct our hearts and minds fully toward the divine. Focus in prayer begins with setting aside time and space for it. Just as meaningful conversations with loved ones require intentional moments of connection, so too does prayer. It cannot be rushed or squeezed into the margins of our day. By dedicating specific moments to prayer, we signal its importance and create the conditions necessary for genuine engagement. Whether in the quiet of the morning or the stillness of night, such intentionality cultivates an atmosphere where focus can flourish. Distractions, both internal and external, are perhaps the greatest obstacles to focused prayer. The mind often pulls us in multiple directions, replaying past events, anticipating future worries, or fixating on immediate concerns. When this happens, it is important to gently redirect our thoughts back to the purpose of the prayer. Rather than becoming frustrated by wandering thoughts, acknowledge them and let them go, returning your attention to the sacred conversation. This practice, repeated over time, strengthens the habit of focus. Intention is equally critical in prayer. It is not enough to simply recite words. We must understand and mean what we are saying. Each word, each thought should carry purpose and authenticity. Intention transforms prayer from a rote activity into a heartfelt exchange. It is the difference between speaking out of obligation and speaking out of love, need, or gratitude. To aid focus and intention, many find it helpful to prepare their hearts and minds before beginning to pray. This could involve a moment of silence, deep breaths, or reflecting on the reasons for the prayer. Some also use tools such as written prayers, scripture, or sacred objects to center their thoughts and keep distractions at bay. When prayer is approached with focus and intention, it becomes a deeply enriching experience. It is no longer a task to complete, but a meaningful encounter, a sacred pause in which we connect with the eternal. Such prayer nourishes the soul, strengthens faith, and brings clarity and peace to the heart. Gratitude is the cornerstone of prayers, shaping the way we approach and engage with the divine. It transforms our prayers from mere petitions into profound expressions of appreciation and humility. Starting with gratitude shifts the focus from what we lack to what we have already received, fostering a sense of contentment and deepening our connection to the sacred. When we begin prayer with thanksgiving, we align our hearts with a spirit of acknowledgement. Life, in all its complexities, offers countless blessings, some grand and others subtle. From the air we breathe to the relationships that nurture us, from moments of joy to lessons learned in difficulty, there is always something for which to be thankful. Recognizing these gifts reminds us that we are not self-sufficient, but recipients of unmerited grace and provision. Gratitude also cultivates humility. It is an act of remembering that all we have is not earned entirely by our efforts, but given, often through circumstances beyond our control. This recognition fosters a sense of wonder and reverence, positioning us not as demanders but as receivers. It reframes our perspective, helping us to see prayer not as a tool to get what we want, but as a means to acknowledge and honor the giver. Starting with gratitude also changes the tone of our prayers. Rather than focusing solely on our struggles or needs, we enter into prayer with a positive and open heart. This doesn't diminish the weight of our burdens, but places them within a broader context. By reflecting on the blessings we've received, we strengthen our faith in the one who has provided before and will continue to provide in ways we may not yet see. Gratitude in prayer has a transformative effect on our overall mindset. It shifts our attention from scarcity to abundance, from dissatisfaction to fulfillment. This change in perspective doesn't just impact our prayers, but extends into our daily lives, allowing us to approach challenges with greater resilience and hope. Incorporating gratitude into prayer is not about ignoring difficulties or pretending that everything is perfect. It is about recognizing that even in the midst of hardship, there is always something to be thankful for. By beginning with gratitude, we open our hearts to grace, deepen our connection to the divine, and transform prayer into a powerful act of recognition and reverence. Faith is the lifeblood of prayer, the unseen thread that ties our words to the divine. Without faith, prayer becomes a hollow exercise, reduced to mere repetition or wishful thinking. Faith transforms prayer into a dynamic act of trust and hope, enabling us to approach the Creator with confidence and expectancy, even when the outcome is uncertain. To pray with faith is to believe that the one we address hears us, understands us, and cares deeply about our concerns. This belief is not based on evidence we can see or measure, but on trust in the character and promises of the divine. Faith reminds us that prayer is not an empty ritual, but a meaningful exchange with the one who holds all power and wisdom. It assures us that even if the answers are delayed or different from what we expect, they will come in the way that is best for us. Faith in prayer also requires letting go of doubt. Doubt whispers that our prayers are unheard or unworthy, that the obstacles before us are too great, or that we must solve everything on our own. While doubt is a natural human experience, faith invites us to rise above it, to place our concerns in the hands of the Creator and trust that we are not alone in our struggles. This doesn't mean denying our fears, but choosing to believe in spite of them. Praying with faith also shifts our perspective. Instead of focusing solely on our problems, we begin to see the possibilities. Faith allows us to look beyond our limitations and trust in the boundless power of the divine. It transforms prayer from a list of requests into an act of surrender, where we release our burdens and place them into hands far more capable than our own. Importantly, faith in prayer does not demand instant results. It is patient, trusting that the timing and manner of the answers are part of a greater plan. This patience strengthens our spiritual resilience, helping us to persist in prayer even when we cannot immediately see its effects. To pray with faith is to believe that every word, every thought, and even every silent longing reaches the heart of the Creator. It is an act of trust that transcends circumstances, bringing peace to our souls and reminding us that we are held in the embrace of a love that never fails. Patience and consistency are the twin pillars that sustain a meaningful and transformative prayer life. Prayer is not a one-time event or a quick solution to life's challenges. It is a lifelong practice, a rhythm that grows and deepens over time. To embrace prayer fully, we must cultivate the discipline of persistence and the grace of patience, understanding that its power unfolds gradually, and often in ways we do not immediately perceive. Patience in prayer requires us to trust in timing that is not our own. It is natural to desire quick answers, especially when we are in the midst of difficulty or uncertainty. Yet the divine operates on a timeline that transcends our understanding. Sometimes the answers we seek are delayed, not as a denial but as a means of preparation. In waiting, we are stretched, refined, and strengthened, learning lessons that we could not grasp otherwise. Patience teaches us to remain steadfast, even when the silence feels overwhelming, trusting that our prayers are heard and that answers will come in their due time. Consistency in prayer is equally essential. Just as a relationship thrives through regular communication, so does our connection with the Creator. Sporadic or half-hearted prayers cannot sustain the depth and intimacy that a consistent practice builds. By setting aside time daily to pray, we create a sacred habit that becomes a source of strength and guidance. Even on days when we feel uninspired or distant, showing up in prayer demonstrates our commitment and faith. The beauty of consistency lies in its cumulative effect. Each prayer, no matter how small, contributes to a deeper sense of peace, purpose, and alignment with the divine. Over time, this practice shapes our hearts and minds, making us more attuned to the presence of grace in our lives. Consistency also reinforces patience, reminding us that prayer is a journey, not a destination. Together, patience and consistency teach us to approach prayer with endurance and trust. They remind us that the value of prayer is not measured solely by immediate results, but by the transformation it brings to our inner lives. In practicing both, we find that prayer becomes not just a momentary act, but a way of living, a steady thread that weaves through every season of life, offering hope, guidance, and peace.